And there we go. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Sachiko and Adele. Thank you.
All right. Hello again. My name is Sachiko Oates again. I'm the regional coordinator for CalPro. And today actually marks the beginning of National Apprenticeship Week. And CalPro is kicking off the week with this webinar on pre-apprenticeship and CTE pathways. And let me introduce our wonderful facilitator for today's webinar, Adele Mcclain. Adele is an award-winning adult educator and the program coordinator for Apple Valley Adult School. She has worked with local employers and unions, as well as their partner community college, to make multiple pre-apprenticeship or CTE pathways for students at her school. Today, she will share their practices with us. And without further ado, Adele, please take it away. You're muted, Adele.
Am I still muted? Hello?
You're good. We can hear you now. Thank you, Adele.
Not sure why the slides advanced. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. My name is Adele Mcclain, and I'm an administrator for a small school in the high desert of California. And I am happy to see you here today. I come to you with 27 years of teaching experience and 7 years of experience as a California administrator. And we're going to start off today with trying to find out something about what you already know about apprenticeship. So I will ask Sachiko to go ahead and open up the questions. What is your school's level of apprenticeship? Have you started the process yet? Do you offer 1 or 2 programs, offer more than 3 programs? We're at 75%. Let's see.
I see we have 84% of our participants have responded.
Okay. So maybe we'll give it like 30 seconds more and then we will end the poll so we can talk a little bit about what the results of the poll show. So I think we can end with saying that most of you, or we share the results. Okay. Most of you are just stepping your toes into the pre-apprenticeship ring. And I think that it is an exciting time for us. I think that federally and certainly with federally, more apprenticeships and more apprenticeship dollars will be coming this way. And also Gavin Newsom has a hope of having 500,000 apprenticeships by 2029. I don't think there's a lot of clear direction for us as far as apprenticeship pathways go. So you kind of have to look at what's out there and figure out how to align yourself with those who have already received apprenticeship dollars or have apprenticeship programs. And I'm going to try to give you some insight as to how I went about building an apprenticeship program in carpentry. So I will, with that, I'm really happy to see that there are a couple that have apprenticeship programs. And I want to know how you built your pathways, but after this webinar. Okay, so I stopped sharing, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and then okay, I am trying to advance the slide and having very little Oh, wait, there it is. It came up. Sorry about that. So this was our vote, our Zoom poll. And I see that most people are new to this, so I will try to get right on with the presentation. One of the things that I think benefits you is if you're near something where an apprenticeship program already exists, location kind of means everything, because you have something to offer those apprenticeships that are already in place. Something that we discovered is sometimes you won't have space or your partner won't have space. So besides learning to build partnerships, you also need to get familiar with the process of MOUs and even facility use forms. During the pandemic, our K-12 could not offer the construction classes that I had that were lined up with apprenticeships. But we realized that my teacher also worked at the college. So in the past, the college had used my campus for a class, so we knew what a facilities use was. We reversed that scenario during the pandemic when we were closed down, and we used the college facility. But because of that, we started realizing that we don't have to confine ourselves to just the campus that the K-12 or the college has. Sometimes we haven't done this yet, but there are several industry partners in our area that would be willing to allow us to hold classes at their sites because they need the training done so badly. Whenever you're trying to do a partnership with an employer or with a college or with the AJCC, try to take a look at what mutual benefits you have. What outcome benefits both of you. If you can try to make the benefit to each other relevant in terms of increased outcomes and usually increased dollars, you're going to generate revenue for both programs. I did, and this will be in the follow-up, I did put in a website here for you to go on to the California Department of Grants, because you're going to need a username and password if you are attending to apply for the new monies that are coming out via workforce development or the High Road Training Program, both of which look like they're going to have dollars directed towards CTE programs and apprenticeships here in the near future. These are some other useful web emails that I put in there. The EDD is, of course, what just came out on the CAPE website, letting you know that there will be an opportunity for workforce development opportunities. And also I put in a site for AFL-CIO because it is probably the biggest union here in the state. And if you don't have any, union programs in your area, you can always contact them and they might be able to steer you in the right direction to find one that is close to you that you may not have known about. And if you let them know what you have to offer and your intentions, they may even be able to lend you more support in terms of letters of support, in terms of sometimes even equipment or just setting up those relationships. Your partners can help you find and support your students. I did find with my mandated partners, which would include those in the AJCC, here in the high desert, we have 29 mandated partners. They have to do E&E surveys just like we do as adult schools. So if you can find a way or an avenue to at least start the conversation about sharing the information on those E&E surveys, it will help both of your agencies to gain dollars. A hurdle that I found with AJCCs is that you need to pay for training. So oftentimes, since I run my program strictly off of CAPE dollars and I don't have any cost involved, I try to make a kit that would support the programs I have. I try to make that kit be at least $200 or more so that they have something that they can pay for. And then it meets kind of the checks and boxes that they have to have in order to send a client to you to get training. Industry certifications and union endorsements. Okay, so try to visit and survey your local employers and unions and find out what is needed. So when you go and you talk to them, try and get a sense of the things that they're going to need to fill the jobs that they have. Sometimes it's going to be a certain set of skills. Sometimes it's going to be upskilling. Try and figure out where you can fit their need to try and get a sustainable wage. The two that I have partners with are the Carpenter Union, the Carpenters Union in our area, and a healthcare provider. Both of them had unions and and would give me a letter of support. The Carpenters Union, I do the basic intro to construction skills. And then they get their their safety certification at the same time in my program. And then with St. Mary's Hospital, I have an EKG 12 lead program. And this is good for introductory level positions, but it also helps their nurses union. If their nurses come to me to get that training, it'll mean a $2 an hour increase for their actual RNs. So that's why the union is willing to support me at the entry level, but also at the more educated level of their working staff. Other tips, to create more meaningful partnerships with workforce and local employers, actually try and find time to visit a workforce investment board meeting, because when you actually come to that table, it brings to the awareness of the Workforce Investment Board that you are out there, you are a resource to be tapped. Because oftentimes they're trying to build these programs from the ground up, not realizing how much we have to offer. Try to leverage the benefit of both agencies, or of each agency. In my case, my most immediate and strongest partnership is with my community college. I do have the support of the two unions as well. But when I tried to build these courses with the college to meet the industry needs, we figured out rather quickly that it takes me 3 months to build a program and it takes them 18 months because of the academic sentence. Also, if you're working with a college and you're a small school like I am, I can't apply for my own Perkins dollars. However, if I can help them meet their goals for their Perkins pathway, because the pathway to apprenticeship in this particular case is also a Perkins pathway at my community college. If I'm helping them reach their goals, they're going to try to help me reach my goals. I also asked to be on their Perkins advisory committee twice a year, because even though I don't get those dollars, it's important for me to know what goals they need to make so that I can help them meet their goals. In planning, at least in our region, a lot of the way that we started this, besides industry partners, was taking a look at what the students needed, do student-centered planning. At my agency, I do at least a survey a month to try and drive the programs that I offer, try and make it so that the programs I offer are something that my students would even have an interest in taking. Then I also try to find courses that are capstone courses, or that are courses that lead to capstone courses at the college. I try to generate survey questions using existing students. So for example, if I was thinking about doing another nursing course, or say that I wanted to open up welding or truck driving or anything of that nature, I would go ahead and survey the interest of the current students I have, because likely the students that you have already enrolled in your high school diploma, high school equivalency, or ESL programs are going to be some of the students that you're going to solicit to for your CTE courses. And by finding out what they're interested in, it will be easier for you to build and fill these courses. And it's also, when you send these out to your existing students, it's free advertising. Who doesn't love that? I wanted to put some samples of the surveys that I have created in the past in here. for instance, when you start my program, whether you're, and I also have college classes here, wherever you enter my particular program, we always try to find out what your goals are, because then your goal drives your participation in all of my programs, whether it's ESL, high school diploma, or CTE. What's the reason that you didn't complete coursework in the past? I have an employment survey that lines up exactly with the E&E survey, because that way they see it multiple times. They get used to being asked what are otherwise some kind of weird questions and uncomfortable. I also do transition surveys. This is where I can ask what fields you might be interested in, whether they're constructions, health occupations, automotive careers, graphic design, Cosmo. All of these are industry sectors that have been identified as needing workers here in the near future in San Bernardino and Riverside County. With this knowledge, though, it helped me to go after employers that might partner with me in order to start apprenticeship types jobs. Obviously, for me, construction and healthcare worked, but we did go into the other and take a look at what might be offered as far as a partnership in automotive. Graphic design, not really, and in cosmetology, the only one I found that had an actual union is Supercuts. We also do America's Job Interest Survey. Are you currently enrolled in a training program? What kind? Thank you. What are some of the CTE pathway apprenticeship programs that your students might be interested in your area? And if you would please, can you put these in the chat right now?
I see lots of results are coming in. Construction, healthcare, education, tech and healthcare, electrician, ECE, that's early childhood education, I'm assuming. Cosmetology. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, lots of construction, HVAC, and electrician, EMT and firefighters, CNA, electrical vehicle maintenance. That's interesting. Yeah, drivers, cybersecurity, engineering, hospitality, health science, med tech, education and child development, welders, mechanics, health and CTE construction. Hi, Carola. And cybersecurity, paraeducator, truck driving, lots medical assistants, accounting, lots of them. Thank you, everyone. Keep the answers coming. We'll make sure to check those. But thank you for your engagement.
Input. I would
Yeah.
say, as a result of those surveys in general, I would start by trying to figure out not only who you're going to partner with apprenticeship wise that might be able to sponsor you, that is in some kind of union, but I would also say that the healthcare pathways are the ones that are going to be supported more by the WDD grant that's coming out, whereas the High Road Training Partnership would pretty much cover everything else, as long as you're aligning with what the industry sector need is for your region. If you can just get one partnership, I think that is sufficient for the application. They ask for a minimum of one, but I think if you could get two, for example, in healthcare, you would be probably able to secure funding to sustain it. Obviously, not many people have applied for those pathways, but I think with what Mr. Kelly is putting out, and even our quarterly partner meeting with WDD, that's where the funding seems to be trending Again, apprenticeship does not have to have state funding, but it surely helps. Your apprenticeships by themselves would be, in some cases, self-sustaining, depending on who your partner is.
Adele, we have a couple of questions in the
Yes.
chat. Someone
That's
asked,
what I would like to, I want to see the chat, but I can't, so.
oh, okay. Someone asked you to repeat that. I think it may have been in reference to some of the grants, perhaps.
Okay.
And then someone else asked, Carola asked, where can we research the industry sector need?
Labor market, okay, the industry sector needs, if you go to your workforce development department in whatever county you're in, they will have the labor market index. Also, if you start going to those workforce development partners, your workforce investment board meetings in your county, or a lot of them have a virtual link now to your workforce investment boards. They will be discussing what the LMI is, the labor market index, and how you might pursue partnerships or dollars to go with those. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much. I did or participated in a webinar for the apprenticeship program grant, and if I remember correctly, we were told that we had to use a very specific website, but I do not remember the website. So that, they mentioned that that was the only source that they would actually use to validate the industry sector need.
So that is true. And I went to the same webinar. For me, because I knew I couldn't do all of the things they were asking for, I knew that the college, Victor Valley College, was applying through that, the apprenticeship grant. And then what I did is I offer a course that is the first step in a 3-part series to become apprenticeship. Does that make sense? So I'm not personally going after the apprenticeship grant.
I see.
I am step 1 of 3
Yep.
in a student attaining an apprenticeship.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate the comment. If anyone else out there has a question, please feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand. I can't see your faces from here.
I did see that Anna Ramos.
I had it. Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned something about specific grant funding or funding coming from the state, and then you specified it to like healthcare pathways or everything else, but you spoke really, really fast and I didn't catch it.
Oh,
So I said, can you repeat that, please?
No problem. And I will tell you, it was Neil Kelly that actually said, hey, you already have apprenticeship pathway going on. Why don't you apply for the High Road Training Partnership Initiative? And it will be in the websites that we share with you. The High Road Training Partnerships Initiative is on the California Grants website, and that is in, I want to say, my second or third slide, but it will also be put in the chat and it will be sent to you after this. In respect to that, since you're asking about it, I'm also the AXA Adult Ed representative for San Bernardino County, and myself in conjunction with Riverside, we host a monthly meeting in December 6th. It's going to be at Corona Norco Parent Center. What we're going to try and do is have people who have successfully attained funding or applied for funding for the High Road Training Partnership and the WDD grant, so that we might share a template for what we've done. If anybody knows me from WIOA days, I'm always happy to try and share what I can to help other areas and regions get the funding, because I frankly think we do the best job for the lowest dollar amount in getting people trained for workforce. Does any other question? Comment? Okay, thank you. I basically am talking here a lot about the partnership that I have with Victor Valley College, because without them, I would not have probably been able to be in an apprenticeship pathway. In building my pathway, because I wanted to do something and I needed to do something in my region that was for no cost, because we don't have a regional occupational program, or ROP. So I had to bounce off of existing CTE courses that my high school uses. So I went to our district CTE coordinator and the CTE coordinator for the college, and I found out what programs were already in place. This also means I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I already know where the teachers are. I already know where the labs are that I might be able to use if I don't want to rebuild an entire construction lab or medical nursing lab. I recruited the existing teachers to create programs outside of contracted hours. So this is extra income for them. If you can at all, I always suggest you try not to build this from scratch. Try to build on existing programs. So then if you can make more of these programs more rapidly and get more people served with less dollars. When I first did a survey of interest of my students and articulated, let's see, and looked at the articulated courses I had versus what students were willing to take, our college course CMFT 120 is an introduction to construction technology. We already have this course being taught as a concurrent enrollment course for our high school students. So I just had that teacher start working for me in the evening to provide the same class here. I actually dabbled in 2 other industries after that, but the first one and probably the most successful is my construction technology course. With the teacher shortage right now, staffing and sharing between agencies and coordinating hours benefits all involved, because since my initial class, there's another teacher we managed to bring on board, works part-time at the college, works part-time with me. But with the 2, it's enough to keep them from kind of leaving us and going outside the area.
Adele, we have another question in
Sure.
chat. Jamie asked, how did the credentialing piece work on that?
Well, I am very fortunate because I started with the K-12 side. So since I started with a teacher that's already credentialed to teach at the K-12, and then I got him to teach at the college as well. I didn't have to worry about his credential being valid because he's already a credentialed teacher for the Apple Valley Unified School District. If that answers your question. Nice. Okay. You also, and I know there's a link in here somewhere, a couple slides down, you need to take a look at what courses are currently articulated between your K-12 and whatever community colleges you're with. Because then, like I said, you're not reinventing the wheel, and likely with CTE teachers, they may already be teaching for both agencies. Then if you are doing this articulated course, for example, in my construction course, many of my students in the high school diploma class use these college courses in order to help complete their high school diploma. Then you're getting additional WIOA payment points for those courses completed. It also, I find that my ESL students, it's usually level 3, end up signing up for my high school diploma students, which ends up being the same students that are in my CTE classes.
We did have a couple more questions.
Sure.
One question is, was that course a credit course or a non-credit course?
Very excellent question. They received 3 college units, which in our region, 3 college units is multiplied times 3.3 to receive 10 career technical or elective units for the high school diploma. So they get 3 college units at Victor Valley College, and then those credits then, because of the MOU and agreement we have with Victor Valley College, those turn into 10 career technical or elective units toward the high school diploma. Was that answering the question? I,
And we also have one more
sure.
question for our master's degrees required at the college.
I believe so. I think that there are people that I personally know that have been grandfathered in, but as a general rule, the master's degrees are required for teaching it at the college, yes. And then I kind of just talked about the benefit to the K-12. Oh, are there any other questions?
Adele,
Mhm.
quick question. Thank you for relaying about the college class. I'm curious, when you referred to college, was that non-credit class
These are
or
for credit. Mine are for credit, and it is only the for credit coursework currently at my college that articulate towards the apprenticeship.
Thank you.
No problem.
Actually,
And
you know what? I have a follow-up to that. I'm sorry to squeeze this in.
That's
Were there
okay.
any, were there any non-credit courses developed that can be transitioned to that credit? I mean,
I
you know,
totally think there
bridge.
could be in our particular system, no, but I can totally see where there would be a way that they could be, especially in the field, in the healthcare field.
Exactly. Okay, thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Absolutely. Why articulation and not dual enrollment? Okay. So, okay, I see what you're asking. So from the college point of view, they would prefer dual enrollment because they actually make money with it. However, we're going to go back to that. It takes me 3 months and it takes them 18 months. Part of the reason that it's faster to do it my way is because then, even though the college does not get any money for it, the likelihood of them taking the courses that come after this are pretty high. So they may not gain that initial full-time equivalent student funding, but the success, the fact that the students are encouraged due to the fact that it's going to pay them more to continue with the other 6 units that they'll need is pretty high. And I put that in here. The initial dual enrollment doesn't
you.
give the college the FTE, but the student success, yeah, for the student to be successful at getting an apprenticeship, they're going to have to take the other 2 courses at the college. It also, the college benefits because if they take my course and then 2 others, they're also meeting their goals as far as their Perkins outcomes are concerned. Not to mention, I obviously run an adult school, so I have a lot of the demographics they're looking for in Perkins as well. My classes for construction are probably about 70% Hispanic females. And adult ed students, if you look at it statistically, that transfer to the community college are actually more likely to gain a 4-year degree than their K-12 counterparts. And this is something that our college looked at and, you know, to kind of help make the argument for this. And next slide. In the chat, okay, so I wanted to give you some time and I will go over these answers to please tell me who are some of your organizations that you could see as potential partners. What are some of the partners that you can leverage to help develop pre-apprenticeship CTE pathway programs? What data do you have or do you think you will need to collect to determine these needs? And I'll give you a few minutes to. And Sachko, I can't see these either. I don't know if there's a way to share the results, but I'm going to guess there's a lot of activity in the chat.
Sorry, Adele.
Yeah.
I couldn't control the screen, so
Okay.
I wasn't able to unmute. Nothing so far. Maybe people are thinking, and I see that some of the questions regarding community college, minimum qualification requirements and things like that. I strongly encourage you to contact your local community college
Also
or
true.
your partners because some are local decisions. So make sure you have the correct answer for your region and your local community.
Thank you. That is true.
All right, maybe we can move on. And
Okay.
I see one person. Thank you, Monica. Some Bernardino Valley College and their Department of Health, completion rates and attendance. Thank you.
And don't forget about your labor market index that you can get from the Workforce Development Department. That would be very important. And you'll need it if you're writing any grants. So. And trying. Sachko, can you advance this? I'm still getting the Anna. Oh, I got, okay. So I did want to give you a couple of pictures of CTE in action. So the picture on your left is actually some of my students from last semester doing the level 1 intro to construction course. And then we've expanded to level 2, which is residential remodeling also. That is, the residential remodeling is not in the apprenticeship pathway, but it is something that a large number of my students wanted so that they can also apply these construction skills they're learning to their own homes. And so I wanted to give you an example of like what kind of products that we have. That is a tiny house. It does have electrical and plumbing. We're trying not to make it too nice. We don't want anybody to take up residence there. But this program has been wildly successful. Also, this was intended for to have them go into apprenticeship, but several of them have become entrepreneurs of sort during this time by being able to build such a structure. One of them even made custom dog houses, which I thought was ingenious. Another thing I wanted to suggest that you do is make a time and space each week for those transitions and job supports to occur. So every Friday for a good 2 hours, we have resume building, dress for success. We have job views during that time, mock interviews, everything that you would need in order to support the transition to college and to the workforce. I think if you could set aside time and staff for this, like 2 hours a week, at least you will be able to support the student in going on to either the next class or even applying to go down to wherever your union is to talk to them about what prevailing wage is and how to get into the jobs that they are now qualified to do. I did want to also give you a sample of letter of support. I did pick several from some of them are ones that I have written, and 2 of them are ones that have been written on my behalf, but I wanted to give you a sample of letters of support. This was written to our partners, CalHelp, the California Association of Health and Educated Linked Professionals. But that way, when you're trying to elicit letters of support, because they may also want letters of support, you're not going in blind. You have some samples. Some of the community partners need a letter of support from me. These are my letters of support. Try to work smarter, not harder. If you are partnering with someone and they have a template, and they might, ask them if they have a template first. So for example, I've given my letter of support to Workforce Development and they've given me one. I've got the workforce template hyperlink here, my letter of support for Goodwill Services, the WIOA youth providers, and TAE, which is transitional assistance. I'm getting this wrong, for youth, but it's basically our local foster care independence provider. Facilitating seamless transitions. This is going back to dedicating that time and space. And if you can, a person from the college or a person from your campus or both, to try and create a seamless transition for those who are completing GED or high school diploma. Target populations, also these are some that are in your Perkins pathway: adult basic education students, your students with disability, of course, your apprenticeship program participants, CTE students outside of the apprenticeship program, like I have the EKG 12 lead, English learners, high school diploma, program areas, adult basic, secondary skills, adults with disabilities. Another thing that's kind of important, if you do have students with the adults with disability program, and they want and are able to take you up on these apprenticeship programs, make sure that you're getting the extra supports from either the Department of Rehab or from the community college. Oftentimes they can actually lend extra supports that I just simply would not have the funding to provide. There's some other partnerships that I've done with Victor Valley College in my quest to have articulated CTE programs, including college courses for Counseling 101. These are also these were not, not that successful, but things we tried along our journey. Oftentimes the first couple of things we try are not that successful, but I keep elements of all of them. The transfer counselor we actually have, and that helps us to have those credit-bearing articulated courses. We have transition services every Friday. We have adult education days at our local college, combined regional graduations, which help highlight what our CTE programs are regionally. We have 4 levels of ESL offered on my campus, and we are doing a combined ESL celebration annually. When we do these things, it gives us an opportunity to highlight the good work we're already doing in CTE programs, but also advertise what may be coming up for the future. Our transitional counselor that is available, she makes weekly visits. Well, now it's bi-weekly visits, but she's available online. She explains all the post-secondary options and addresses anxiety that students commonly have about the next steps. She helps the students with goal setting and educational planning, and also financial aid. And again, she works at a college where there is an apprenticeship pathway, so she can help us towards making sure that the minimum number of students required are achieving their goals on the college end. And I am actually finishing up a little bit early. I mean, this is the evaluation, but I am very happy to take questions. I'm hoping that you will put some in the chat. Sachko, do you see anything? Any hands raised? Any? Laura, anything?
Not quite yet.
Okay. Well, I was hoping.
We do have a question about the PowerPoint. We will be sharing all the resources and links that were displayed today in a follow-up email after the webinar. And the recording will be posted to the CalPro website usually within 1 week, but we'll be sending more information about that as well. Oh, yes. And also I do have, thank you for reminding me, Anna, we have another webinar in this series. I'm going to post the information about that in the chat. You can see the date, the time, the title, and then at the bottom there is a link to register. So if you haven't done so already, take a moment and register for the second webinar in this series. The link is in the chat.
Adele, I had a question.
Yes.
I'm from Folsom Cordova Adult School, and I'm wondering if you allow that during the whole process, if you allow high school students to take any of the adult ed CTE pathway programs at your school.
So because of my particular campus and situation, we do not, but that does not mean that I think it is in any way a bad idea.
Okay, I'm trying
that-
because I'm trying to get a black and white answer on whether that's even allowed, because I know that I know the whole like 18 and over but I've talked to adult schools that say that their policies allow it for students to be dual enrolled and get elective credit at the high school and while they're taking the CTE class at the adult school.
I think that there are certain agencies that this would work for. I am kind of separate, and so I also take offenders, and so my district does not allow me to take anyone that is outside of 18, but I do know there are campuses where this does seem to work. You may have to braid funding sources with LCAP and CAPE, but I
Okay.
think that there are always opportunities to work around.
Okay.
And there was somebody else that raised their hand, but I just saw the raised hand and I don't know. Pinky or Binky or
Unfortunately, I did not see who that was. So if you have a question, feel free to come off of mute.
Jasmine
Jasmine.
Kessin.
Well, thank you. I just have a quick question. Because I think we work with like a little bit of a different population. So we work at Building Skills Partnership. I primarily work with workforce development in the janitorial sector. And so a lot of our participants are kind of getting ready for retirement or, I guess like aging out. But it's also a, population that's currently going through, I guess, kind of like we're foreseeing a lot of layoffs, right? So we want to prepare them for different like work and different opportunities. So how would you recommend we kind of like get this apprenticeship relationship like started? Because we've had a lot of people express interest in like HVAC and electrician and things like that.
I would go to your local electricians union, and if you don't know where one is, contact the AFL-CIO because they definitely will be able to tell you who the local is. And when you tell them that you're trying to provide training resources to lead to apprenticeship, they will probably be very excited to link you up with those people.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Oh, there's one in the chat. Do you have information about EMT partnership?
I don't right offhand, but I would imagine, and it just depends on where you're at. But to me, that sounds like it would be the perfect healthcare pathway lead in. So it would be, if your local college doesn't offer it, then find out, you could find even a CBO training partner that does and see if there's a way you can partner up with that. Aviation partnerships. Well, that our college has that, but we don't have an apprenticeship program with that. But as far as a CTE partnership, I'm pretty sure that is something you could link up with your community college. And the truth is, your aviation employers, I know one of them reached out to us to see if we could do something with their painting and like painting fuselages, but I have yet to follow up on that relationship. If that is helpful. It was Rinky Bassi. That was who I saw. She had a question. What was your question, Rinky? If you still have one, because I remember your hand was raised really quickly. So That is a really good question about EMT, because I know, like, if you're talking about the healthcare pathway that was specifically mentioned under the letter LOI, the letter to intent, I do not know why EMT was not included, because it seemed to me like it should be. Maybe it's because it doesn't show up as significant in the labor market index, but I don't know if that's because it's not, it could just be, you know, the labeling. It's a good question. And I know for sure that public services and firefighters have unions, might be one to take to them and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you give me some help? Because a lot of times those particular entities have their own training centers. You might even be able to offer classes right there. I know that this is going to require people to think a little bit outside of the box. Your relationships, you know, just try to remember that no is free. Go ask whoever could be your partner. That may be it.
Adele, could you
what-
put your, sorry, could you please put your email address on the screen one more time? I didn't catch it.
Mine?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
I think it was, there we go. Yeah. Okay, that's an underscore.
I'm going to put it in the chat too.
Oh, that will be really helpful. Perfect. Thanks
And
again.
I, you know, will, if I can help anyone else get started in this in any way, I'm so happy to do so. Oh, wait, Laura already put it in there. Sorry.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. And yeah, thank you. And Adele, thank you so much for sharing your practices and
Absolutely.
great ideas.
And I'll be here for part 2 myself. So thank you.
Great. Yeah, please, everyone, join us on November 29th at 11 a.m. Laura just put in the link. We're going to discuss this time a little bit bigger picture. We're going to talk about national trend and registered apprenticeship versus pre-apprenticeship, different programs. So I hope you can join us again. Otherwise, the recording of the webinar will be posted on CalPro website. All right. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And if you have any further questions, you can email Adele or CalPro, and we will try to answer any lingering questions.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you. Sasito.
Thank you, Adele. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Oh, I see Emma, my
Emma.
coworker.
Oh,
Hi,
Emma.
Emma. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great week, everybody. We hope to see you next time.